Welcome to the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast Spotlight, where we revisit take-home messages and shine a light on previous FRW podcasts in 10 minutes or less. I'm Lex, AZ's right and left-hand woman, and I churn out these mini episodes for her. Let's go.
He knew that I was going to be speaking about sleep, and he said, melatonin, yes or no? Or he might have said, melatonin, what are your thoughts? And without even so much as putting a filter on my brain and my mouth, I shot back, ask a better question. And there was like this collective, and then everybody broke out laughing again. Because if you know me or if you follow me on social media for any amount of time, you know that periodically I post my picture holding the sign in front of the fire engine that says, ask better questions. Now, that picture was originally posted on an account called Strength Coach with a Board. And I believe it was during COVID, but it might have been 2019. This account started up on Instagram. And it was really funny because it was a lot of collegiate strength and conditioning coaches. And basically they're holding up a board that says something and there's really no comment about it. So basically a coach might be holding up a board that says creatine is not a steroid. And another coach might be holding up a board that says the warm-up isn't optional. So I was like, oh, I got this. Hold my beer. And so I made my sign, my Strength Coach with a Board sign, to say, ask better questions. There are no stupid questions, right? Well, maybe not, but there are definitely questions that are kind of a waste of time. They're sort of like those, I'm not really going to ask a question. I'm going to dance around the subject and hope you tell me what I want to hear. And the Ask Better Questions Strength Coach with a Board sign originally came from, it was close to bedtime. So as you might or might not know, my capacity and bandwidth is really small at bedtime. And I got this text from a coworker, good friend of mine, and it was just a zoomed in picture of an anatomical coloring book, basically, with one of the rotator cuff muscles colored in. And his text was, good exercise for this muscle. And if it would have been in the middle of the day, I likely would have just called him and talked it out, but it was close to bedtime. So I texted him back really fast and I said, I need context. And so he sent me right away another picture, more zoomed in, but actually I think he grabbed the wrong muscle that time. It was a different muscle, but it was more zoomed in. And I was like, bro, I don't need a more zoomed in picture. I need to know, like, is this you? Or is it your kid who's an overhead athlete? Is it your grandma? Is it your wife? Do you have an injury or a diagnosis from a physical therapist or a doctor? Is it torn? Is it stretched? Is it tight? Like, what do you want from me? And I'm sure on the other end of the phone, when he got my text, he was probably screaming like, lady, just answer the question. Like, you have a degree in this stuff. Answer my simple question. We're going to go on a tangent for a second because I love me some my cousin Vinny. Do you remember when Marissa Tomei is called up to the stand kind of against her will? I actually printed out the script because although I'm pretty good at my cousin Vinny quotes, under pressure of a podcast, I would probably forget. So the lawyer says, Ms. Vito, what is your current profession? And she says, I'm an out-of-work hairdresser. And the lawyer says, out-of-work hairdresser. Now, in what way does that qualify you as an expert in automobiles? And she says, it doesn't. And the lawyer says, well, in what way are you qualified? And she says, well, my father was a mechanic. His brother was a mechanic. My mother's father was a mechanic. My 3 brothers are mechanics. 4 uncles on my father's side are mechanics. Ms. Vito, your family is obviously qualified, but have you ever worked as a mechanic? And she says, she looks at her nails and she says, yeah, In my father's garage. Yeah. And the lawyer says, as a mechanic, what did you do in your father's garage? Well, she starts naming them off on her fingers. Tune-ups, oil changes, brake relining, engine rebuilds, rebuilt some trannies, rear end. Okay, but does being an ex-mechanic necessarily qualify you as being an expert on tire marks? And she says, no, thank you, goodbye. And she starts to leave. And the judge tells her to sit her, down and stay there till she can leave. And the Joe Pesci character says, Your Honor, Miss Vito's expertise is in general automobile knowledge. It is in this area that her testimony will be applicable. Now, if Mr. Trotter wishes to continue harassing the witness as to the extent of her expertise in this area, I'm sure he's going to be more than satisfied. So the judge says, okay. And Mr. Trotter, the attorney, says, all right. Now, Miss Vito, being an expert on general automotive knowledge, can you tell me what would be the correct ignition timing on a 1955 Bel Air Chevrolet with a 327 cubic engine and a 4-barrel carburetor? And she says, it's a bullshit question. To which he says, does that mean you can't answer it? And she says, it's a bullshit question. It's impossible to answer. And the attorney says it's impossible because you don't know the answer. And she says nobody could answer that question. And the attorney says, Your Honor, I move to disqualify Miss Vito as an expert witness. And the judge says, can you answer the question? And Marissa Tomei's character says, no, it's a trick question. Because Chevy didn't make a 327 in 1955, the 327 didn't come out until 62, and it wasn't offered in the Bel Air with the 4-barrel carburetor till 64. However, in 1964, the correct ignition timing would be 4 degrees below tap dead center. So, my friends, unless you are asking a guru who always knows everything, and I will refer you back to the episode where I talked about the Dunning-Kruger effect, where the people that know the least about a topic tend to portray that they have the most expertise. And so unless you're asking a guru who will always give you an answer without context and probably charge you a lot of money for it, these questions of health and wellness, they're really nuanced and you need to ask better questions.